Those ugly fish were taking up too much space. The words crackled through my phone speaker as I stared at the security alert on my iPad, watching in horror. My sister-in-law, Amanda, was dumping gallon after gallon of bleach into my koi pond. I was helpless, stuck thousands of miles away at a fish breeding symposium in Japan, while she destroyed everything I had spent my life building. My name is Olivia Parker. At 35, I own one of the most prestigious koi collections in North America. What Amanda was poisoning wasn't just a pond. It was my life's work, housing champion bloodline koi worth more than most luxury cars. They're just big goldfish anyway. Amanda sneered on the security feed, her designer purse swinging as she emptied another container. This space would make a perfect splash pad for my kids. I dialed Michael, my groundskeeper. Emergency at the pond. Amanda's dumping bleach. Get there now. On my way, he said instantly. Should I call the police? Yes, I replied, forcing my voice steady. And start the emergency water exchange system. Those fish are worth millions. A text from Amanda popped up as I hung up. Did some cleaning while you're away. You can thank me later. I took a slow breath, fury simmering beneath my skin. This wasn't new. From the moment my brother James married Amanda 3 years ago, she had resented my success. A former beauty queen with expensive tastes, she had tried, and failed, to compete socially. But you can't buy the reputation I had built through years of dedication. I switched camera views, watching Michael rush to activate the emergency protocols. We'd installed them after a previous accident, when Amanda's kids had thrown rocks at my prize koi. That time, she had laughed it off. This time, there would be no laughing it off. I called James. Your wife just poisoned millions of dollars worth of koi, I said when he picked up. It's all on video. Liv, I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding, he said, using the same placating tone he always did. She probably thought she was helping. Helping? I cut him off. She literally said she wanted my pond gone for a splash pad. The police are on their way. The police? His voice rose. Come on, they're just fish. I let out a sharp laugh. James, Emperor alone is worth more than Amanda's car. This isn't a family dispute. It's a crime. On the security feed, police cars pulled into my driveway. Amanda turned, startled, as officers approached her. She didn't look so smug now. Mrs. Davidson, one officer said, we need to talk about what you just poured into this pond. It's just bleach, she huffed, arms crossed. My sister-in-law keeps these ugly fish here, and honestly, they're a health hazard. I was doing her a favor. I switched cameras again. Michael and his team were working frantically, but I could already see several koi floating motionless. My throat tightened. These weren't just expensive fish, they were living art. Emperor's bloodline traced back 6 generations to champion koi in Japan. His offspring alone were worth tens of thousands. Amanda hadn't just killed fish, she had erased a legacy. My phone buzzed. A text from James. Please don't do this. We can work something out as a family. I thought about every time I had let Amanda's antics slide. The accidental damage, the snide remarks, the attempts to undermine my work, and every time James had asked me to let it go. Not this time. No, I typed back. Not this time. Michael's next update hit like a gut punch. 4 dead so far. Emperor's still hanging on. Vet's here. I clenched my jaw, watching Amanda argue with the police. Do you even know who I am? This is ridiculous. They're just fish. If anything, she should be thanking me. A new alert popped up. Photos from Michael documenting the damage. Dead koi, their vibrant colors dulled, floating lifelessly in the poisoned water. Each image was another nail in Amanda's coffin. Make sure everything's documented, I texted back. Every fish, every water test, every second of footage. Then my phone rang. The president of the North American Koi Association. Olivia, this is a disaster, he said. Those bloodlines. Do you need me to contact our lawyers? Yes, I replied without hesitation. I want the full weight of the association behind this. She needs to understand exactly what she's done. On the security feed, Amanda was still protesting as officers led her away from my pond. You can't arrest me over some fish. Oh, but they could, and they would. What Amanda had never realized was that champion koi weren't just fish. They were legally recognized assets, like fine art or racehorses. and she had just destroyed millions of dollars worth of them. On camera, I booked the next flight home, my hands steady as I packed my bags. Years of dealing with Amanda had taught me to be prepared. Security cameras, emergency protocols, documentation. She thought she was finally putting me in my place. She had no idea what was coming. As my taxi pulled away, one last update came in from Michael. Emperor's fighting, but it doesn't look good. The others. I'm sorry, Olivia. I stared out at the Tokyo skyline, my jaw set. Amanda had just learned the first rule of messing with my koi. I documented everything. Soon, she'd learn the second rule. I protected what was mine, and heaven help anyone who tried to destroy it. The real question wasn't whether I pressed charges. That was already in motion. The real question was whether her trust fund could cover the damages when I was done. Seeing the devastation in person was worse than I'd imagined. Standing at the edge of my pond 2 days later, I watched as the recovery team carefully lifted another lifeless koi from the water, a stunning female worth $175,000. The morning sun, which once made my pond shimmer like liquid gold, now only illuminated the destruction Amanda had left behind. Michael stood beside me, his expression grim as he held out a tablet. Final count, 7 dead, including Emperor, 4 critical. The water tests showed bleach levels high enough to kill everything if we hadn't activated the exchange system in time. I swallowed hard, my eyes fixed on the pond. Emperor had fought for 36 hours before the toxins won. His platinum and gold scales, once radiant, had dulled to an ashen gray. The vet documented everything, Michael continued. Photos, tissue samples, reports. The association's lawyers have everything they need. A commotion at the front gate shattered the heavy silence. Amanda's voice, shrill and indignant, cut through the air. This is ridiculous. I've already been humiliated with that arrest. You can't ban me from the property. I turned to see her arguing with my security guard, James hovering uselessly behind her. She traded her designer outfit for something more subdued, probably a lawyer's suggestion. But her arrogance remained unchanged. Let them in, I called. I want to hear this. Amanda stormed toward me, her expensive shoes struggling against the gravel. Do you have any idea what you've done? I was detained for hours. My kids are traumatized. I tilted my head. Your kids? The ones you planned to build a splash pad for after destroying my koi. They were taking up space, she snapped. This whole thing is absurd. They were just expensive pets. A new voice cut in. Actually, they were legally recognized assets with documented bloodlines and established market value. Amanda whirled around to see Thomas Chen, the North American Koi Association's chief counsel, striding up the path. I'd been expecting him, but her stunned expression told me she hadn't. Who the hell are you? She demanded. The person explaining just how deep you've buried yourself, Thomas said, opening his briefcase. Mrs. Davidson, you deliberately destroyed living assets valued at approximately $2.8 million. That's not including the damaged filtration system, the contaminated ecosystem, or the loss of future breeding revenue. Amanda blanched. That's ridiculous. They're just fish. Champion bloodline koi, Thomas corrected. Would you feel differently if she were breeding racehorses and you poisoned the stables? This is a family matter, James interjected weakly. Can't we work this out privately? I met his gaze, the same weary look I'd seen 100 times before, his desperate attempt to smooth over Amanda's behavior. No, James, we can't. The police report indicates premeditation, Thomas continued. Security footage shows you bringing multiple containers of bleach onto the property. You stated your intent to destroy the pond for personal use. This wasn't an accident. Amanda's forced composure cracked. Fine. I'll apologize. Is that what you want? I'm sorry about your fancy fish. We'll get you new ones. I let out a sharp breath. You think this is about replacing fish? Emperor's bloodline took generations to cultivate. His offspring alone were worth thousands. You didn't just kill koi, you wiped out decades of careful breeding and future potential. The association is filing full criminal charges, Thomas added, and civil damages for the lost value and projected earnings. Amanda turned to James in desperation. Tell them they can't do this. But James wasn't looking at her. His eyes were locked on the pond, on the lifeless koi still being removed. $3 million, he murmured. At minimum, Thomas confirmed, and given the documented history of harassment and previous incidents, punitive damages will also be pursued. Amanda's face twisted with rage. "This is all your fault," she screamed at me. "Always flaunting your stupid fish, acting superior with your breeding programs and magazine features. I just wanted to take you down a peg." I arched a brow. "And now you're facing a felony. How's that working out for you?" She lunged, but the security guard caught her arm. "You think you've won," she spat. "You've ruined everything, my reputation, my standing in the community." I met her furious gaze, my voice calm. "You did that yourself." Thomas adjusted his tie. "Mrs. Davidson, I strongly suggest you stop talking and contact your lawyer. We're filing charges this afternoon." Amanda turned to James, her voice breaking. "You can't let them do this to me. We're family." But James just shook his head, something shifting in his expression. "No, Amanda. You did this." His voice was quiet but firm. "I should have stopped this years ago." As security escorted her out, Amanda's final shriek echoed across the garden. They were just fish. I turned back to the pond, where the recovery team continued their careful work. They weren't just fish. They were my passion, my life's work, my legacy. And Amanda was about to learn exactly how expensive it was to mess with that. Thomas lingered, flipping through paperwork with Michael. "The insurance assessor is coming, but with the security footage and your documentation, this case is solid. Given the damages, we're looking at grand theft and felony destruction of property. The civil suit will follow." I nodded. "And if she tries to settle?" "That's up to you," Thomas said, "but I'd say make it public. People like her count on silence." Later that evening, I sat by the pond where Emperor had once swum, the water rippling softly in the dimming light. His golden scales had always caught the sunset just right, sending waves of color dancing across the surface. Now the pond felt emptier, quieter. My phone buzzed. A message from James. "I'm sorry. I should have stopped this years ago. Moving out tonight. Meeting with a lawyer about separation tomorrow." At least something good had come from this mess. Another message followed, this one from the association's breeding program. "Heard about Emperor. We still have viable samples from his last breeding season in storage. When you're ready to rebuild." A small smile tugged at my lips. Amanda had tried to destroy something irreplaceable. But she hadn't won. Like the koi themselves, I would adapt, survive, and rebuild. The remaining fish swam in slow, steady circles, their scales glinting under the lantern light. Survivors. Just like me. And thanks to my preparation, my cameras, my records, my emergency protocols, Amanda was about to learn the most expensive lesson of her life. They were never just fish. 6 months after Amanda's bleach attack, I stood in the courthouse hallway, watching as she clutched her designer purse like a lifeline. The perfectly tailored outfit, the carefully styled hair, they did nothing to mask the growing panic in her eyes. The criminal trial had just ended. 3 years of probation, hundreds of hours of community service. Now we waited for the civil proceedings to begin. She glanced at her lawyer, then seized the moment to approach me. Her voice was low, almost desperate. "Please," she whispered, "can't we work something out? This will ruin me." I studied her, remembering the gleeful smirk on her face as she poured bleach into my pond. The way she had dismissed my koi, my life's work, as nothing more than overpriced decorations. "You had every opportunity to work something out before you killed them," I said evenly. Her expression tightened. "I already have a criminal conviction on my record. Isn't that enough?" Before I could answer, Thomas appeared at my side, a thick folder in hand. "Mrs. Davidson, all communication should go through your attorney." His tone was polite, but firm. The civil trial was swift and brutal. My meticulous records left no room for argument. The security footage proved intent. Water tests confirmed deliberate contamination. Expert testimony established the irreplaceable value of the lost bloodlines. When the final damages were announced, Amanda's face went ghost white. $4.2 million, the judge declared. The amount accounted for not just the koi's documented worth, but future breeding revenue and punitive damages for her repeated harassment. Amanda's lawyer shot to his feet. "Your Honor, this will bankrupt my client." The judge barely glanced up. Perhaps she should have considered that before destroying millions in documented assets. In the back of the courtroom, James sat quietly, his expression unreadable. Last month, their divorce had been finalized. He had finally seen Amanda for who she was, though it had cost him his marriage and shattered our family's fragile peace. Outside, reporters swarmed. The case had drawn attention from specialized breeders and the local press. Amanda shoved past them, ignoring shouted questions about whether her trust fund could cover the damages. Thomas stayed beside me, lowering his voice. "The fund isn't enough. We'll pursue her other assets." I nodded. I took no pleasure in Amanda's financial collapse. This had never been about money. It was about consequences. 1 year later, my pond looked different, but it was whole again. New koi swam through the crystal-clear water, their movements graceful and unhurried. Some bore Emperor's markings, his bloodline preserved through stored samples. The security system remained upgraded and reinforced. Trust, once broken, required eternal vigilance. Amanda had moved away, forced to sell her home to pay part of the judgment. James, healing in his own way, sometimes visited. He stood beside me one evening, watching a young koi with Emperor's signature gold pattern glide beneath the surface. "They're beautiful," he murmured. "I never really got it before. These aren't just fish, they're living art." I smiled, watching the koi weave through the water. Some things have to be destroyed before people understand their true value. My phone buzzed. A message from the Koi Association. Emperor's last offspring just won grand champion at an international show. His legacy lived on. As I stood by the pond, the setting sun casting rippling gold across the water, I felt an undeniable sense of peace. Amanda had set out to punish me, to tear down what I had built. But in the end, all she had done was reveal the truth for everyone to see. Her pettiness, my resilience, and the undeniable lesson that some things, like beauty, like justice, are worth protecting. The koi continued their slow, hypnotic dance, unbothered by the human chaos they had inadvertently exposed. In their silent elegance, they had taught us all a lesson about the true cost of spite and the power of survival.